Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Holiday Open House. I'm Anne Hein, Embroidery Software Specialist for Janome America. And today I'm going to be talking about creating embroidered Christmas cards. And I just want to point out behind me here is my In the Hoop Christmas tree. Several years ago, we did this project. So you'll find this on the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page. Each of the parts are separate. And so you would put on one part of your tree starting December 1st and add it on. And then as you go, there's spots in here where you can add your ornaments. And then we made ornaments. So as the time goes on, I'll be adding ornaments right up through Christmas. So my tree will be all decorated by then. Now, I put it on a pillow because that's what I had available at the time, but you could put it on a wall hanging of any sort, or even, maybe just one ribbon and hang it and put buttons. There's buttons on under here that we buttoned it on with, okay? And the buttonholes are made all in the software. All right, so let's talk about Christmas cards. Let me change the view here because I made some samples for you, and I created the shapes and everything right in the software. I started with this one here. All right, and this one here, you can see I made the ornaments and they overlap because I wanted that kind of overlapped look at it. I used less dents here to make that work. And then I'm just going to flip to the other side so you can see this is the back side, and I have my sticky stabilizer there. Now, as I go along, I started doing a bit more, and I tried some that were like this. So these don't overlap. And this here, my little mistake in here, this is a bad needle. My needle was probably because I've done a lot of cards, I should have changed my needle. So once I changed my needle, this all went well. But as you can see on here, I started to paint these, and I have some pearlescent watercolors. This is watercolor paper. I'll show you that in just a minute. I did this one here with a simple, slash Christmas tree on there, and then stitch the ornaments. And these ornaments I left open, and I didn't overlap them. And then on the inside, I covered it with foil paper so that made it a little pretty. Now you can put your card, I did my cards this way, but you could turn the ornaments this way and still have this cute little overhang. I like that little overhang on the card. So I'm going to have to do a few in this direction. And then I did this one here as well. And you can kind of see the pearlescent part of that. So what I use for these, this was just regular cardstock there. You can use regular cardstock, but I also used a couple things I want to show you. These are the watercolors I used. I got these. These came from Michael's, and these actually didn't cost. These were like $5.99. Didn't cost very much. And then I got just some, plain brushes for it. And they come out so beautiful, these pearlescent ones. I really, really like how they come out. Let me just put this stuff out of the way. And then the watercolor paper I used was this here. It's by Canson. Okay, and this one it's a 30 sheets. It's 140 pound paper. And you can experiment with different ones. This is just the one I got. I was doing some other things, so I had this in my stash of paper. And I divided it up because it is 11 by 15. I knew I could get three 5-inch by 11 strips out of there, so I could make my design out of that. So then if you're going to paint them, you paint them up ahead of time, let them dry, and then you can start your design. Now we're going to go into the software, and I'll show you how I created them. But I want to show you the hoop first. So I hoop up my sticky stabilizer. Now, typically when you put in a sticky stabilizer, you hoop it with the shiny side up, and then you score it and peel it off. This is some sticky stabilizer I've had in my stash for quite a while, and the paper part just peels right off. You don't even before I even get it in here, the paper just comes off. So typically what I do is I take my inner hoop out and I attach it to my inner hoop, and then I push it in, and then I tighten it up. And so it has just enough stick for the card to hold in there. And then part of my design, I create a placement line. so that when I go to put my card in there, I can set it in just like this. Now, depending on today, I'm making this like the bottom of the card and the design is here. But if I was doing something with maybe a card that was sideways, let's just pretend, my hoop would be, I would have that little edge over there and I could just align it right like that and make my design right in here. So you want to make yourself a registration mark, a little placement area to place your cards. Now you could use the lines that are on your hoop as well, but I find this a lot easier, and I just can align and I just press my card down onto there. And this is the smaller hoop for the S9. I do have my 15 behind me, but I also have an S9 and I've been using that as well. All right, so let me go into the software and we can show you that part of doing the design. So here we go. All right, so I'm going to go into the browser. I have some already made, so I'm going to go to my first one so that you can see what I did first. So this one here, and I'm going to make the grid go away right there so we can see better. There we go. All right, so here you can see how I have the red one, the green one is behind it, then the purple one, and then I have the gold one right here. These are my hangers, and then the little tops of the ornaments there. And of course, at the very top is my placement. Now, so those are the overlapped ones. And then I had, let's open up, let's see, this one here. This one doesn't have any overlaps that show, so you can see over here, and I'll show you how I did those. So let me get the view with the grid off of here because we don't need the grid. There we go. So these are laid on top, and I had removed overlaps always on, so it took away the extra that was under there. And then the last one is of the open kind right here. And then these were done a little differently because they're made with outlines. And I did clip them here and here using the knife feature to make these nice pieces like that. And I'm going to show you a little trick with the last one in here. But let's go back and we're going to look at this one here with the overlap. This was my original. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new page, and I'm going to switch to just a smaller hoop here. This is my CM17, but I think I'll use this one here. And there we go. So what I did is I started here with the shapes, and I picked the ellipse, and then if you hit Control and let's see here. On my Mac, it's Command, and on a PC, it's Control to get a perfect circle. Then I selected it. I did not need the outline, so right down here in my used colors, I'm just going to remove it. I'm leaving the fill on a step fill. I'm fine with that. And then the size of it, I use different sizes as I went. So if I go back in here and look at this one was like less than 1 1/4. This one is 1.3. This one here is the same as this one, and this one is a little bit larger at 1.5. So I started at like 1.1, and I went up a little, down a little, whatever seemed to fit in there for what I'm doing. So you can resize them however you want. So this might be my largest one, but I'm going to click proportional, and then I can just make this a little bit smaller. Maybe I want it 1.1. There we go, and I have that smaller size. Now to get the inside to be less dense is over here in your density. I'm going to click density, and I played around with different ones, and I found that 0.09 gives me the density that I liked. I did like that density. Now, the other thing you want to check is once you have that, you do need to take a look at how big these stitches are, because sometimes these are big jumps in stitches, and you really don't want that. So to look at actual stitches, just click on auto, so you go into the manual, and then select your piece and then select edit stitches. And then you have to zoom in close and you can see how far apart these stitches are. So if I was to measure this here, and I took my measurer and I went from here to there, it's almost a ½ inch. So that's pretty big. So the length over here, I'm going to change my length. I want a smaller length, and I went with 0.08, and I'm working in inches, so you can put in if you're in metric, put in 0.08 IN, and there, now you can see, let me click off of it, and let me get off of there, and then it's selected. Let me go to edit stitches, and you can see now they're closer together. All right, so that's how I created the first one, and I just worked with my first one and moved from one to the next from there. Now I also changed the direction of the stitches after I got them in place. So let's go ahead and place those. We'll get a couple of those going. So there's my first one, and let's select it. If I just do copy and paste, and then I could move one like over here, and I want to make sure over here that in my remove overlaps, I don't want to remove the overlap. So I'm going to say never, and I'm going to make sure on the first one that it says never. There we go. And I can make this, let's make this first one red. I'm going to go to my colors, and so it's a fill, so that's red. Maybe this one is green, so we'll go to green. There we go. And one thing you can do is, play with the direction of your stitches by going to stitch flow. There's direction, and all I have to do is draw a line, and it will make my stitches go in that direction, or I just kind of move it along, and I could put them in any direction I want. So that created that part of it. You could change your density, have them closer together if you want. It's all up to you what you like. So there's my second one, and maybe I had another one in here because I went with 4 because I thought that looked good. I'm just going to do a copy and a paste and move that one over here like this. And this was my small one, so I might want to make this one, well, these are actually the same size. This one has to be a little smaller. So maybe I could just drag it down a little bit. This one here might be smaller than that. Drag it like that. And it's going to be up here. This one I made gold. There we go with the gold one. And if you use the same one each time, you don't have to make any changes to it because you've already set the stitch length, the density in the first one. So it all stays the same for you. And then my last one, I'm going to just do copy and paste of this one and move it over here. And this one I made much larger. So let's just bring it up like that so it's a bit bigger. And I moved it over there, and it's my purple one. So I'm going to go with the purple. And we'll use this purple. There we go. And then I just went through and made changes to the direction of the stitches. So I could move them in different ways just to make a little bit more interest with them. These I think I made more upright like that. And it just makes that little overlap a little bit more interesting. And you can move them around however you like them. So I have my ornaments in there. If you wanted to rotate these around a little bit, and I'll show you when you rotate, there we go. One of the things that happens is this little piece can be put in a more pleasing spot. So I think on this one, I rotated it to be up a little bit more, or you can click on the corner handles like this and get the rotate, and you could move it a little bit yourself like that. And so just move those to wherever you want them, where you think they will be more pleasing. So here are my pieces. The red is behind the green, and this is on top of the green, but below the purple. So I want this one on top of the purple. So while it's selected, I'm just going to left click and drag it down. And now it's going to be more to the front of the design, okay, on there. So this is my overlapped one. I probably want to change my stitch flow here to be that way, I think. There we go, just a little different. So you can play around with that. Now, next I was thinking about, oh, how am I going to make the little hangers? And as you can see, my little hanger looks like this. It's just a loop that I created. And what I did is I drew it in using the drawing tool. So let's go back to the other page. I'm actually going to copy this and bring it over, and we'll paste it here. And we'll just move it up here for inspiration. There we go. So I took the Digitize Outline Shape tool and I did Shift so I get a cusp node. And then I did a curve node, a curve node, a curve node, and then I came back down here and did a cusp and put it on top. I selected it, deleted the inside because I just want the outside. And then I made the outside, I think I made it green. So I'm going to click on the green down here to make it green. And I actually made it just a little bit narrower like this. And then you can take a look at your stitch length for this as well. And in properties, I did not make a change in the length. I left the length as standard. So there we go. Now, I like this more rounded look here. So let me see when I go to edit. There we go. So here we had these. I think I'm going to delete this one. And if I delete this one here, whoops, undo that. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. So you can take your node and kind of bring it down a little bit to make it more open. You can bring these out a little bit, or you can also take your, let's see if I take the right one down here and I say two line, there we go. I can use the arrows here to create, I changed the node to a line node so that I could change the shape of it a little bit if I wanted to there. So you can play around with the shape that, whatever shape that you want to create your, your piece. If I wanted it to be more straight, I could straighten it up that way. So you can play around with the nodes and get the shape of your little loop wherever you want. And then you can just take these and copy paste them down near your pieces like this. Once I get one, I use it for all of them like that. Put that there. And bring this one over here like that. Then I just had to make the little part for the top of my ornament. And that is actually just two squares, two rectangles. So I took the first one and I made a rectangle right about like that. I deleted the outline because I don't need the outline. And again, I changed the density on the inside. I don't know if it was 0.09 in this one too. Let me see what that looks like. There we go. And then I did the direction of my stitches this way. There we go. Or no, actually they're up and down. Sorry, this way. There we go. And then I made another little square. Let's put that this way. I made another little square on the top. So I went back to my rectangle and I made another little one up on top here, deleting the outline or the fill. No, the outline, sorry, leaving the fill and then changing the density to 0.9. And I'll go back and look to make sure that's what I did. Let's see if this has a density, 0.5. So let's go back here. This is, I think it's 0.05. And direction. This one went sideways. And this one went up and down, and that would be 0.05. There we go. So I had those and I just layered one on top of the other like this. And I did, you can try shaping and weld, but then it does this kind of thing. So I didn't want that. Well, you might want that, but I wanted to keep them sort of separate. So I just took them like that and I did combine, and it brings them together without changing how they look. Well, this one here, undo that. There we go. So I have to be careful how they go on here because that changes the direction of those stitches. So let's do combine again. But again, you can make these any direction that you like them. Let's see if I can get this to change up here without changing the whole thing. Well, now they're grouped together in a weird way. But you can play around with that part of it. This actually looks good too. I like the two together on there, so you can play around with the shaping of that and changing the color and how many you need to put around on your piece. Let's not make them big like that. There we go. And then I just brought them in like this. And once I had everything in place and the colors the way I wanted them, then I started working with the order of the stitch out, and I created the little registration line as well. So let me undo that because I'm trying to talk and move things at the same time. There we go. That can go over there and paste. There we go. Okay, so one of the things I did not want happening was this kind of thing where it's over the green one. So if you just select one, hit shift, and then select the other parts, and then you can either use your arrow keys to move it over and up if you want, so they're not overlapping. This one here, the same thing. I think I want that to come down a little bit, but I don't want it overlapping on those other two. So I have to select my side one here. Let's move it over a little bit, and then I could play with this. Now this little top here might be too big for this one. So you might want to make it a little narrower like that, and then select all your pieces and center it more in between there, maybe up like that, or down, however you want to do it. Make your levels, and then you'll be all set. The other thing is make sure on these pieces that you've turned off remove overlaps, never, because I don't want it making these little openings there. And these could be a little bit up more on the edge of your piece like that, more on the top edge. So you can play around with your placement and where you want them. This one here, I'm going to go actually the top of it. We're going to say remove overlaps, never. Move overlaps on this piece to never. That way it doesn't take that little bite out of it. Let's see here. Unless you want that. I mean, you are the director of your piece, so you can really make it anything you want. All right, so that's how I created that first one. When I went to make the little registration line, I went ahead and put my grid back on. So I'm going to show my grid. And then down here, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to use my outline shape tool. I'm also going to turn on snap because it makes it stay right there on the line. And I just started, I'm just going to make it and then I'll readjust it here. So I just, let's backspace. I want to shift, click, go over here, shift, and then go up here, and then end shape. And then make that a color that's not in your piece. So we'll pick this bright yellow here for now. Well, not that one. Let me undo that. I just need the line. There we go. And the other thing is my cards are going to be 5 inches. So I want this to be 5 inches. So when I look up here and I look at my width, I can undo that and I could make this 5.0 for the width. Oops, wrong thing. Let's see here. Why is that not? Did I not grab the right one? There we go. And then I'll center that in the hoop like this, so it's good. Bring it down so it's close to the edge of the hoop down this way. And then I just have to bring my design down. And what I did is once I got my design down there, I knew I wanted it to be a 1/2 inch away from the bottom of the hoop. It's from the paper itself. So these are 1/4 inch here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I would just bring this down a little bit more, and that would make that part of it there. And then my design would be ready. Let me take away the view, this part here, so we can see it. Now, once I get to this point, I need to reorder it and stitch it in the correct order. And I did start with my the Christmas balls, so those are in the order I want. This one I want to stitch last because I want it on top. And then I would stitch my little handles because I want this little part to go over them, so that would be next. And then this part really needs to be first. So you can select it and right click on it and go to order and back of design, or you could click and drag it up. So now you can see that it's up there. And then once I have it where I want it, I go ahead and save it, and then I can send it to my machine. So if I was ready to send, sometimes I would save it as a draw, and then if I was going to send it to my machine, I would use by wireless, or if I was going to put it on a USB stick to take to my machine, I would put it here. If I was going to save it, I would go to File, which you guys can't see that because on my Mac it goes up over the top. And I would do Save As, or you can use the Save tab right here. So File, Save As. And then I would find where I want to put it. I don't want to put it in my no name on my USB. So I'm going to pick my OneDrive here, and I'm going to put it in my, where did I want to put? I'm going to put it on my desktop, and I'm going to put it in my AD class designs right there. And I can go ahead and name it up here. I could say ornament 1. And it saves as a draw. That's what I want to do first, is save as a draw. Now, if I'm, this operation completed, resource deadlock avoided. That's interesting. Oh, maybe it's still, I'm not sure why it's doing that. Oh, you know why? I think because my OneDrive has to load in order for me to do that. So if I just pick desktop here, let me redo that, and I just do it under my untitled folder. Ornament 1, draw. Let's see if it'll save there now. There we go. Now it's saved. And if I want to go back and save as a GIF, because I'm going to put it on a USB stick later, I would come in here and go Save As, change this to a GIF or a JPX. That's a GIF with a graphic, and then I just would save it. So now in my untitled folder, I have this one as a GIF, and I have the original as a draw file. Now to do the ones that are like where is it? This one here. What I did is I took the designs I had, like this one here, and I went ahead and I just made an outline around each one. So I went to, once I selected it, you could come over here and select, or you can come down here and select the outline and delete your inside. Then I went to this one and I selected outline and deleted the inside. I went to this one. I'm going to change this stitch here in a minute. That was the gold. I'm going to put it as an outline and delete the fill. And this one here, I'm going to make an outline and delete the fill. This one here, I've been playing with another stitch, so I'm going to just go back and go put an N there for none. I could change, I could pick a double or a triple if I wanted, or I could, really do anything I want on that part of it. And on the ones that these ones, I did leave my stitch length at just the default of 0.098, which I like. So we're going to go back to this one. And then because I didn't want these overlaps in there, I used the knife tool to go ahead and cut off the parts I don't want. So what you want to do is do your digitize outline shape, and you can put a little line across here like this. Let's see, left click, and shape. Up here, do the same thing. You might have to zoom in close. You can adjust the node in just a minute, and shape. Hit select, and then you want to select shift and this piece and your red part here because you want to cut that. Right click knife, it's going to cut one of them. Right click knife again, it's going to cut the other one. When you click off of it, you should be able to select just that one part and hit delete. And now I can go back in and select the red part, go to my nodes, and I can move my node back like this to make it in the spot I need it to be. If I don't want it hanging over, I could bring it back in like that. So I did that with all of them. And this one, so the green here, I had to cut the green away and the purple. So let me do that, show you again. I'm going to use my digitize outline shape, left click, right click, and shape, left click, right click, and shape, left click, right click, and shape, and then down here, left click, right click, and shape. Oops, and shape, there we go. And then I'm going to come up here and it selects the last one I did. I'm going to hit shift, select this one, select that one, and this one. And then I need the green and the purple. And I'm going to have to do right click knife 4 times. And you'll see that this one went away and it stayed, everything stayed selected. So knife, that one went away. It always starts with the last one you put in. There's that one. And then there's the last one. And I'm going to click off all of it. Click on here, delete that piece, delete this piece. And then, of course, I can go in and edit these nodes back a little bit, just like that, to get them out of the way. There we go. Now, one other thing I want to show you is let me back up a little bit. So we're all set. Let me show you what it looks like. It looks like this. Because I used that other one, what I want to do now, because it says this S9 up here, I want to go File. I'm going to save it as, it's going to put it on my desktop here, and I'm going to call it Open Ornaments. So I make sure I don't lose my other one. So now I have this as a draw. What I want to show you is this one here. One of the things when you start stitching it, sometimes it starts and stops right here. And let's take a look. We're going to go up here and let's see. There we go. And I'm going to go, when I look through here, this is where it starts and stops. So that's going to be pretty noticeable. Really where I want it to be is up under here. I'd like it to start and stop under this area. So if I select this and I use rotate, and I'm just using my wheel to rotate around, and then I'm going to check it in a second. I think I can tell where it is. I'm going to go back to edit stitches. It's right here. It's not quite there yet. So let me rotate again and see if we can get it up at the top. This sort of hides that start and stop, so it's not in such a noticeable spot. There, it's almost all the way under there, so I could select it and rotate it around again. There we go. So now I have that one, and let's select it and look at edit stitches. There they are up under here, which is a lot easier to look at. These don't matter because they're starting and stopping right here anyways. This green one, yeah, same thing. They're all going to have their start and stops right where these are. But this one here, one of the first ones I did, I don't think I have that sample. One of the first ones I did, the start stop was like right here. It was noticeable. So I just moved it right up in the top. So that just made it easier on that part of it. So there you go. Now, remember I mentioned earlier, if you want to do your card sideways, all right, so you could take this and let's go up here and let's rotate it. If I did 90, there we go. And then I just move it to this side like that. And if I put my grid on, because I probably want to have my design about a ½ inch away from there. So let's move, since that's selected. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we could take the design over, or we could move, and I like to keep more paper in my hoop. So I'm going to grab my design, and I'm just going to bring my design over to about there. And I also want to make sure my design is centered on that line. So let's make sure, let's first make sure the line is centered in the hoop, and it is. I can see that it's centered here. And then the rest of this, and I know that green of my grid is very distracting, but we'll go back in here. So now I can see that I have about 3 blocks up there, and on the bottom part I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have like 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6. So if I really want those to be maybe a little more centered, maybe I should do that. So I think I have 4 little blocks, and I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 little blocks at the top. But again, you are the director of this, so you can put yours wherever you like. And now I could do one that's sideways, which I think would really be cool to have. I have to go back and do some that are sideways. And since I changed that one, I would go back up here, File, Save As, and save this one as, let's see, maybe right side. Like that, and save. So then I have those on there. So they're, fairly easy on that. Let me put the camera back on. And let's go here. Hang on 1 second. There we are. Well, let's get this on. There we go. All right. So hopefully you enjoy making the ornaments. I really had a great time, especially when I started painting a little bit. I mean, some of this one, I'm, very simple. You could actually stitch the open ones, and then you could paint inside them if you wanted. I was thinking of doing that with one of mine, is just painting the insides of these once I got done. But I was really enjoying just doing these background looks on there. And then this one here is a little bit more, so you can see that one a little bit more up close. So I just did some brushing on it afterwards. And you don't really have to wet the paint so much. These are really fun paints. They're really like kids paints. They're not like the, like professional things. And then on the inside, I did use this foil paper. And this one I just used some cardstock I had. But you can buy Christmas papers, print papers. A really cute little stripe might be nice in here. Some of those little prints would be good, so you can buy some of those and use those in there. You can also buy cards ready-made with envelopes when you go to the craft stores, so you don't have to figure out making an envelope for this now. Just make sure if you're going to watercolor on it. Now, I wasn't using a lot of water, so this is watercolor paper. It held up very well. If you just have cardstock and you use watercolor on it, this is a much thinner paper. Do a little bit of a test first so that you don't if you wet it, you might wrinkle up the paper. It just, makes a difference that way. All right, everybody, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for joining me with our holiday open house project. Get your Christmas cards ready to go, and I'll be watching for mine in the mail. Bye for now.